Namaste and welcome, and thank you for your interest. This is the first of a series of talks about the Kabbalistic tree of life. Even though these talks will concentrate more on the Kabbalistic aspect of mysticism, this tree, as the root of all of existence, of course has its reverberations in other mystical traditions and in life in general. Now, the tree of life, as we encounter it these days, is usually a depiction of 10 elements called the Sefirot, which is Sephirah, singular in Hebrew, ordered over 3 columns. 3 on the right, 4 in the middle, and 3 on the left. Now, on the right column are the powers called Chokhmah, wisdom, Chesed, love, and Netzach, victory. In the traditional order of the tree, these 3 Sefirot are the second, the fourth, and seventh in sequence, and are placed one above the other. This right column is often called the male side of the tree. Now on the left side, we have a similar arrangement of 3 Sefirot as on the right side. Now on this column, often called the female side, we have Bina, understanding, Gebura, power, and Hod, majesty. These 3 powers are the 3rd, 5th, and 8th in the traditional sequence. Now, in between these male and female forces, on the right and on the left side, in 2 columns, on the middle column of the tree, we have 4 Sefirot. And they are headed by Keter, the crown, underneath which follow Tiferet, beauty, Yesod, foundation, and Malchut, the kingdom. These then are the 1st, 6th, 9th, and 10th in the order. Now this middle column, in a way, balances the right and the left side out, exemplifying a sense of equanimity and androgyny. Now this gender specification of male on the right and female on the left only holds true philosophically. In the end, the gender specification is more about the dynamics, about the actions of the Sefirot, meaning that when a Sephirah is giving, it is considered to be male, as a result of which Keter, as the first, is always male, whereas when it's receiving, it is feminine, as a result of which Malchut, the last one, is always feminine, and this is our present world, Malchut, the kingdom. Still, the Sefirot on the right and the left side form tentative male-female pairs, according to their main tendency to either give or receive. Thus the 3rd and the 2nd Sefirot, wisdom and understanding, in the Zohar called the father and the mother, are a pair. Now the 2 Sefirot below them, love and power, Chesed and Gebura, are also seen as a complementing pair, and the same goes for the 2 Sefirot underneath these 2. Now, of the 4 Sefirot on the middle column that are left, Tiferet and Yesod, so beauty and foundation, are seen to form a pair, and then we are left with Keter and Malchut, the first and the last, to form the final pair. Now, since Malchut, as said, exemplifies our present world, this last connection implies that for us, human beings, there is always a direct mystical connection with our source, Keter, first Sephirah. Now, this inherent connection between what is first and what is last, in Sefer Yetsirah described as their beginning is in their end, is further affirmed by the numbers of the letters that constitute the Hebrew word for creation, bara, the root. Bara has the numbers 2, 201, with the 2 exemplifying dual existence and the 1 exemplifying the source it goes forth from. So now we see that as a numerical expression, bara, to create, has an inherent return to the creator. So the return to the 1 is inherent to creation itself, which means no additional action on our side is actually needed to return to the 1. Now, the clear arrangement of the 10 divine emanations into one entity called the Tree of Life was not part of Kabbalah from its beginning in the roughly 2nd century after Christ. It started about 1,000 years later only, with the advent of the Book of Splendour, the Zohar. Now this book, the Zohar, introduced a new kabbalistic understanding revolving around the concept of a totally unknown, hidden Godhead called Ein Sof, which literally means without end. Now, as a result of this novel concept, there arose the discrepancy between that which is known, that is our existence, our creation, and that unknown, that limitlessness. Now, the structure of the Sefirot, the Tree of Life, solved this discrepancy by functioning as the missing link. Now, even though at the beginning of Jewish mysticism the Tree of Life did not feature as such, the phrase, the Tree of Life, was used, albeit in a different context. Now, this context is the Garden of Eden, the biblical paradise. Now, it is in the setting of this garden that we first read about Adam and Eve, the biblical snake, and the eating of the so-called forbidden fruit. Now, this forbidden fruit from the forbidden tree, this tree is called the Tree of Knowledge of Good and Bad. It appears frequently in the Kabbalistic texts of the earliest stream of Jewish mysticism, called Merkabah mysticism. Now, in the text of this stream, this tree is connected to the highest angel called Metatron, and Metatron, in turn, is connected to the hidden additional Sephira Da'at, meaning knowledge. And, as an extension of this, Metatron is also connected to the tree of knowledge of good and bad. Now, the tree of knowledge of good and bad is mentioned in Genesis 2. It features as one of the two special trees in the Garden of Eden. The other tree, the one about which it is said that its fruit can be enjoyed freely, is our tree of life. As said in this biblical passage, this biblical featuring, this tree does not feature as a conglomeration of the 10 Sefirot, but the numerology connected to these passages does lay the foundation for the manifestation, both philosophically and metaphysically. Now, whereas originally the Tree of Life as the entirety of the 10 Sefirot was not present in Jewish mysticism, one of those 10 Sefirot has always been of great importance, namely Geburah, strength or power. Now, at that time, Geburah was known as Dynamis, emphasizing its highly dynamic character, and just as in later Kabbalah, its numerical value 216, that is the numerical value 216 of the word Geburah in Hebrew, was noted. In these texts, these old texts, the number 260 mostly refers to the fact that this number equals 3 times 72, referring to the esoteric 72-lettered divine name that features 3 times as the totality of Exodus 14, 19, 2, 21. Now, it's in these 3 verses that the Exodus from Egypt is described, verses that both mystically and numerically contain countless secrets. Only with the beginning of the becoming known of the highly influential Sefer Yetsirah, the origin of which, according to scholarship, is undecided, ranging from the 2nd century before Christ to the 8th century after, only then did the original concept of the Sefirot gain momentum. Now, the exact passage that mentions this original concept is the opening passage of Sefer Yetsirah. Here we read that God created his world by means of 3 Sepharim. As might be clear, the root of this word is Sefer, Sepharim, Safar, Sefer, which is the same in the case of the word Sephira, Sefer, Sephira. Now, these 3 Sepharim in Sefer Yetsirah are not called exactly that. They are represented by 3 renderings of this root, the root Sefer, evoking this root's meanings, book, number, and story. 3 meanings for the same root. Now, hence by means of these 3 concepts that God is said to have created the world, something which emphasizes the numerical understanding of life. Now, even though in the Zohar this root Sefer begot the additional meaning divine emanation, the original meanings, especially that as number, still held true. As such, each Sefira qualifies the number it is an expression of. Now, another important implication that retained its truth and power is the fact that the root Sefer of the word Sephira has the numerical value 340. Now, this number is shared by the word Shem, meaning the name, which is a direct reference to God. So in other words, kabbalistically, God's name, Hashem, Shem, which implies all of creation, is the numerical and metaphysical foundation of each Sephira, because it has the same root, Sefer. Now, in Sefer Yetsirah, numbers are called living numerical beings that are limitless. Now, also these characteristics were transferred onto the later Sefirot, the latter more so than the former. Now, even though the Kabbalistic tree of life does not feature in the Torah, the names of the various Sefirot do come from there, just as the name of the tree itself. In 1 Chronicles 29:11 we read, "Thine, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty, for all that is in heaven and in the earth is thine. Thine is the kingdom, O Lord, and thou art exalted as head above all." Now this verse gives us literally all but one of the 4th until the 10th Sefirot. 2 more, the 1st, Keter, and the 9th, Yesod, can be inferred from this verse. And then we're left with 2 Sefirot, the 2nd and the 3rd. Now these 2 missing Sefirot, Chochma, wisdom and Bina, understanding, the father and the mother in the terminology of the Zohar, come from Proverbs 1:2, where it is written, "To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding." Such, even though not employing either the separate elements of the tree of life, the Sefirot, nor its totality as a specific divine representation, the Torah is the source of all the terminology. And how could it be else? The Torah is the essence, or the Torah in essence is one long name of God, and the Sefirot share their core numerical value 340 with the word Shem, meaning both name and God. Now in all the Kabbalistic texts, both Keter and Chochma are sometimes called thought, machshava. This word comes from the root chashav, which has the numerical value 310, which it shares with yesh, a word meaning existence. As such, God thinking thoughts occurs as a paraphrase of creation. A phrase that comes from 2 Samuel 14:14, he thinks thoughts. Now, as a concluding note, it is twice this numerical value 310 of the word for existence, yesh, a duplication that implies the esoteric reflection of the Godhead as the onset of creation, that makes for the numerical value 620 of Keter, the 1st Sephirah. Now, I find this a fascinating insight, and I would like to use it as a starting point for my next talk about the Tree of Life, in which I will also go deeper into the separate Sefirot and their meanings. Now, I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.